Welcome to the Channel for Grace. Gobind will be live shortly. Book a tarot or astrology reading on our website, channelforgrace.guru, and check out our latest programs and classes. Please give us a share and a like, and we hope you enjoy the broadcast. Welcome to the Channel for Grace. Gobind will be live shortly. Book a tarot or astrology reading on our website, channelforgrace.guru, and check out our latest programs and classes. Please give us a share and a like, and we hope you enjoy the broadcast. Welcome to the Channel for Grace. Gobind will be live shortly. Book a tarot or astrology reading on our website, channelforgrace.guru, and check out our latest programs and classes. Please give us a share and a like, and we hope you enjoy the broadcast. Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to the Pisces full moon astrology video. My name is Gobind and this is your Channel for Grace. Thank you guys so much that are watching this video live here with us and that are in the chat. And those of you that are watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. Before we get into the chart, which is what I'm going to show you today, we're going to talk about the astrology of the full moon, the aspects that the moon is making to the planets, and what the significance is of this moon for us collectively. And I'll also tell you where it's happening in your chart. So let's see who's actually in the chat. We got Magali. How's it going? Abby, hello. Sparky, hello. Valerie, how are you? Lisa, Shannon, thank you for being here and moderating. Yes, please subscribe and make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Hi, Melanie. You guys are awesome. Thank you for showing up for tonight's broadcast. I have, last week we finished the live 2020 special webinar, and that's now available for purchase, and the replay is now available to watch. So if you guys are interested in knowing the astrology for the rest of the year, you want to go to my website and click on online courses and go find that special webinar for 2020, because it'll tell you basically what to expect for the rest of the year. And there are some really kind of gnarly transits that are coming up. So it's really important for us to be aware of those so that we can kind of navigate through life. And I also tell you on that webinar, like where those transits are actually happening in your chart. We also have a free moon astrology guide that if you have not downloaded yet, please do. It tells you what your psychic moon gift based off of your moon sign, and it enters you into the community and my email list, and I send out a weekly moon magic report for that. And also feel free to join our Facebook community. It's called Channel for Grace Soul Tribe. It would be lovely to have you in there. There are a lot of people that watch this channel that are in there, and so it gives you an opportunity to get to know other people that also love this channel and to feel like you're not alone in this crazy world, because I know that we have been, feeling like we're kind of alone lately, especially having to social distance and all that stuff. And last but not least, the Channel for Grace Uncut podcast is available. Please subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and any other podcasting platforms. You can find it by just searching for the name, or you can click the link in the description of the video to go to it if you have an iPhone, I believe. The next episode comes out tomorrow, you guys. Usually I release it on the day of the full moon or the new moon, and tomorrow, sometime before the full moon ceremony, that episode is going to be coming out. So I'm really excited about that. I'll be sending out an email reminder to let you guys know it's out so you can listen to it before we do the actual ceremony. So let's get into this freaking moon, you guys. First of all, I want to know, how are you guys feeling? How are you guys? Hey, KB, and Stacy, how are you guys feeling with this moon? Because I've been comparing this moon to the last new moon we had. 2 weeks ago we had a new moon in Leo, and it was really exciting, but it was like up and down, up and down. And then after that new moon that we had the Mars square Saturn last week. And so basically it went from like a real high to like a real low. And things just felt chaotic, and they felt like there was like a restricted, like an obstacle kind of in your way feeling. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it definitely felt like there was just too much of a heavy energy, tired and slightly emotional. Yeah, me too. I've actually been having to take care of myself a lot more than normal, and that includes like taking a lot of naps, and that's not normal for me. Like, I'm a Gemini and I'm go all day long, but I've been realizing that by allowing myself to relax and sleep and rest when my body just feels like that tired and fatigued, actually function way better, which is like, why haven't I been doing that before? You know what I mean? But yeah, totally. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Somebody says they've been really emotional. Yes. This past week was heavy and draining. Yeah, for me too, for sure. It was like a downer. It was very like heavy. That's really the only way I can describe that energy. Like moving through molasses. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Lisa says, I was good, tired tonight. Something happened in your family. Your uncle made you angry. Apparently, I'm going to burn. Oh, God. Yeah, let's not bring that up. One thing I've noticed is that people have been kind of like losing it a little bit, like especially if they don't know like where they're at, if they don't know themselves, or if they're afraid. Like if you're jumping into a lot of fear in your life, that causes like a lot more fear. And what I've noticed is that when I'm outside, people are kind of like afraid of each other, and it's really awkward, and it makes you feel like super uncomfortable. But people are definitely going through a lot, and I'll show you in the chart how there's a really gnarly T-square happening with Mars, Venus, and Saturn that is just not going to feel good. But we are going to focus on the positive things of this full moon, because this full moon actually is a really beautiful full moon. So let's actually talk about this. Let me pull up my notes. And so I titled this video Purification for Spiritual Birth. And there's a reason for that. I feel like this morning I also released the weekly video, so make sure you go check that out. But I know that this full moon in Pisces is a deep spiritual connection to another realm. And there's a reason why this crazy T-square is happening in the sky at the same time that we're having this powerful full moon in Pisces, which is all about like higher connection, spirituality, like the higher dimensions. This is a very spiritual moon, and it's ruled by the planet Neptune, who is actually in Pisces, and also in a very loose conjunction with the moon. But nevertheless, Neptune is a powerful planet when it comes to activating our dreams, our subconscious mind, things that are hidden, things that are deeply spiritual, Christ consciousness, compassion. All of those things come with the realm of Neptune in Pisces. And also hidden things that are like not so pretty, like hidden enemies, like people that you don't know they hate you because they're pretending they love you, kind of thing. But that's kind of what that Neptune energy is like. But we're gonna look at this as this beautiful activation of like a spiritual activation. And the energy of Pisces itself is all about endings and completions, or the ending and the completion of some kind of spiritual process. It's about the deeper ethereal meaning of life. It's, you know, the connection to the, like I said, the divine essence of the universe, our relationship to God, which is heart-centered. And the 12th house of completion is gives this moon the energy. It's like a powerful moment where the veil is thin. This also means that the veil is thin between like the world of, you could say the world of the living and the world of the dead, or you could say the world of the three-dimensional reality and the world of like the higher, more ethereal dimensions. The veil is thin, and that is because this moon, and also the moon loves to be in water signs. So this moon is actually helping us to connect to that higher knowledge, to those higher frequencies, those higher dimensions, the Akashic records, you know, the knowledge of everything that is. So it's a higher understanding of life, and it activates our intuition very, very strongly. And I myself, I am a 12th house sun. I also have Venus in the 12th house. I also have my North Node in the 12th house. I also have Chiron in the 12th house. And all of these planets are in that Pisces energy. So like the Pisces moon for me is feeling good. Like I actually feel really good. And I know last week didn't feel good, and I kind of just want to like put that away. Like, let's not talk about that, because I feel good, and we should be focusing on the things that are important and that are inspiring us right now. I think it's really important to do that. The significant thing about Neptune, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually pull up the chart for you guys and start showing you on the chart all these little aspects that are going on. Which is the fun part of this broadcast. And we're going to share the screen and make it live. How does Pisces fit into being a harvest moon? Well, if you haven't heard, the moons are doing this like backwards thing right about now. So we're having very different energies. Usually we would have a full moon. We would have a full moon in Pisces, but it would come after the new moon in Virgo. And because we're having it before the Virgo new moon, it just makes it a little bit kind of it's a very different way of experiencing the energies of the moons. And it's going to be going on for the rest of the year. So wherever you've heard that this Pisces moon is a harvest moon is probably coming from what the normal names given to the moons of certain months or near certain times of the year. But what you want to actually look at more of is the actual astrology of what's happening in the chart. And that's what I'm going to cover with you guys here. So I wouldn't really, a harvest moon is obviously the energy of harvesting is like bringing in and being a magnet to all the beautiful manifestations and creating things, and like everything that you've created for the summer. We're moving into the fall, and so everything that you've created for the summer is like it's going to start manifesting in your life, where you're going to start collecting the things that you created. And in terms of spirituality, I would say that this is us collecting a very the powerful deeper messages to everything that's been happening in our lives. I think that's one way where this moon can be a harvest moon. It's like a spiritual harvest. So let me show you in the chart what is happening with Neptune. So the significant thing about Neptune, so here's the moon and here's the sun, and of course they're opposing, and they're at exactly 10 degrees, and Neptune is actually right here very close to the moon. It's a wide conjunction. It's not, it's a wide orb conjunction, but it's still right there. So we have to talk about it because it is very significant energies. Pisces, like I said, everything that I just mentioned about Pisces is very deep. So the cool thing about this, Neptune here is that it is sextiling Jupiter. When Jupiter is over here, right? It's a couple of degrees away, but this sextile it brings in good luck. It's an optimistic aspect. It brings in hope. It brings in empathy. It brings in compassion. And it helps us to see the bigger picture through the eyes of the divine, which is that Christ consciousness. And it reminds us that there is still a little bit of light, and that we must follow the light out of the darkness. This is also a very sensitive moon. It's an emotional moon because of the Pisces energy. And we're going to be very empathic during this time, which means that things are going to affect us really strongly. We're going to, seeing other people's suffering will affect us. We must have that strong shield of protection around us. But this is not, a bad thing, because compassion is actually what the world needs right now. So this moon is happening a week before we see Mars go retrograde. So next week, you guys, things are about to go down. Like, no joke, things are about to go down, starting with that Mars retrograde. September and October are going to be very difficult months. Not going to sugarcoat that for you. Hey, Wendy. But September, October are just going to be difficult. Like that Mars retrograde. I'm thinking of making a video about this, but I'm not sure exactly how to do it. I don't know if I should create a video for each of the signs and put it out, for sale on the website, or if I should just create kind of a more simpler video. I mean, this is a topic that we can go into like the rabbit hole with, but just know that September and October are going to be kind of crazy months. They're not really going to feel good because of that retrograde. And also, you can get all that information in the webinar that we just did. So I would recommend going and watch that fall 2020 webinar to really understand what I'm talking about there. But this moon is happening a week before Mars goes retrograde. Mars goes retrograde next week. I believe it's on the 9th. And it's going to give us, this moon, that Mars retrograde is going to last until November 14th. But this moon happening before Mars goes retrograde is giving us an opportunity to reflect on how we are going to show up for this intense retrograde transit. Now, I wanted to do something really fun because I've been studying a little bit about the fixed stars. And like I said, this moon, I'm going to switch back over to me, but this moon is happening at 10 degrees the moon is at 10 degrees of Pisces, and the sun is at 10 degrees of Virgo. And they're always in this opposition. And it just so happens that these two positions are very close to fixed stars. And the two fixed stars that they are very close to are, the moon is very close to the star called Scat in the sky, which is actually a star on the constellation of Aquarius. And the sun is very close to the star called Zosma, and that is a star on the Leo constellation. So what I wanted to do is actually read a little bit to you about these stars, because they actually play a significant role. And it is what, when you talk about the fixed stars, here's what happens. At certain times, and this is a powerful moment. So we would consider this a moment where, okay, let's pay attention. Let's see if these planets are aligned to any fixed stars. Because what the stars do is they bring in the mythology, and they bring in the symbolism, and the what's the word? The word's not coming, but it doesn't matter. It just brings in the story, and it gives you more of an understanding of what's really going on here. And so in a general way, the moon, like I said, is aligned with the star Scat. And Scat is a star on the right leg in the Aquarius constellation. I think it's a man and he's pouring out the water, right? And so his right leg on his right leg, there's this star called Scat, and that's what the moon is kind of aligning with. And it's the only star that actually has a positive effect on the constellation. And it symbolizes positive realization. And it stands basically in the stream of water that is being poured out. And remember that water is sacred. And the whole theme of this constellation is basically this painful purification into a condition of real humanity as a preparation for spiritual birth, hidden things, and the occult. And the sun, in general terms, is aligning with the star Zosma, which is the star on the Leo constellation. So it's the lion. It's the star that's right on the lion's back. But the thing about the lion is like no one will ride the lion. No one rides a lion, right? They can ride a horse and things like that, but even a bull. But like a lion, you just don't do that. And so it's like stay away from that space. And the Leo constellation itself is about sacrifice. It's about blind, destructive lust for power and ambition. It's not possible nor desirable to acquire like an immortal name, and it's not necessary to become like number one at all costs. So I want to read to you a little bit from the book because they actually do a really good job of explaining this. So we're going to read about the star on the Aquarius constellation. So here's what they say about the Aquarius constellation. By the way, if you're interested in checking this book out, it's called Fixed Stars in the Chart: Constellations, Lunar Mansions, and Mythology by Oscar Hoffman. Could take a little snapshot of that and then go get it on Amazon. I think this comes from Europe. So this is what they say. This is what he says about the Aquarius constellation, which remember, this is the moon in Pisces connecting with this constellation. So this is said to be the most human sign, the cupbearer pouring out sweet water. It is the only zodiacal constellation in which we find sweet water. This indicates the meaning of the myth. The purified sweet water can be drunk and is not the wild salt water of desire. What else is water? Pisces. Okay. This purification theme associates Aquarius with Ganymede, the most beautiful, that is the purest of mortals, who was carried to Olympus by an eagle to serve the wine at the feast of the gods. So in this way, sweet water, purified desire, is transformed into the pure wine of spirit, a theme echoed in the Bible in the story of the wedding at Cana. It is all about purifying the desire water by distilling it until the water is pure and ready to be poured out as healthy, sweet water. The tamed desires are turned into wine. So it's like the turning the water into wine. I mean, this is powerful, you guys. This is talking about a spiritual, like a clearing. And that is what this moon is really all about. So this is a precarious process because obviously turning, salty water into sweet water, you have to, clear yourself. And that's what we've been doing this whole 2020. Saturn and Pluto have been, and Jupiter have been like, okay, wherever we're transiting in your chart, that's what is dying. That's the structure that is not going to continue on. And then we need to move forward and recreate ourselves. And so we're all going through this crazy, powerful transit. So this is a precarious process, and the right and left shoulders of the cup bearer, they're talking about the constellation, and there's two stars there. One of them is called Sadal Melek, and the other one is called Sadal Sud, are the rather negative effects. The whole purification process is in full action and may still go wrong. However, only Scat, which is the star that the moon is aligned with right now as a full moon, the moon will be fully full tomorrow at like 10 p.m. Pacific. So we're moving into it. But we can feel it already. Only that star on the right leg has the positive effect to be expected from a constellation representing the most beautiful among mortals. As the right leg, which is all about positive realization, stands, the right leg of the Waterbearer stands in the stream of the sweet water that is being poured out. We are setting our right foot, right footing. When you use that word, it's like, okay, we're moving in the right direction. We're stepping into that stream of the sweet water, the holy water. And this constellation is associated very much with secrets, with esoteric and occult matters, secrets that are positive or negative. The jar of water is filled with valuable sweet water, and the process of making it have to be protected from the impure environment. The sweet water poured by the cupbearer streams. The water pours out and streams into the mouth of another constellation, which is called the Southern Fish, or Fomalhaut. I totally butchered that. Fomalhaut, which represents the birth of Christ. So, the taming of the water is the preparation for spiritual birth. And so, if you think about the shoulders, it starts in the shoulders, right? This is where it's almost like we're going through the hard part, but now we have now moved into the holy stream. And this is what this full moon in Pisces is really bringing out, and it's preparing us for the spiritual birth. Just amazing. The symbol of the zodiacal sign of Aquarius clearly illustrates this theme. We have two waves of zigzag lines repeating the twofold glyph of Libra, also an air sign and associated with the same theme of human and divine dimensions. The human and the divine, which is very much Pisces, which is very much Virgo, Pisces, duality, Virgo, Pisces, axis. Virgo is humanity, Pisces is the divine. In Aquarius, which is a fixed sign, the process of purification is up and running, with the zigzag lines pointing to activity driven by the heat of the sun. Aquarius can be seen as part of the traditional water cycle. The raw water evaporates and comes down as purified sweet water, fertilizing the earth. What? Purification is painful and requires sacrifice, and therefore Saturn rules the sign of Aquarius. And guess what sign Saturn is moving into next on the winter solstice? Into Aquarius. The sun that drives the process from the outside is not at home here, so it is in detriment in Aquarius. Regardless, the theme of this constellation that this moon is aligning with is a painful purification into a condition of real humanity as a preparation for spiritual birth, hidden things, and the occult. Okay, now that's the moon. That's what the moon is aligning with. And what these stars do is they bring in more meaning into the story, more meaning into the astrology. So if we go over to Leo, which is what the sun is aligning with. Leo is the Nemean lion. I guess I can show you this picture really quickly so you can get a visual. That's the lion constellation. And then the Aquarius one, just so you have an image of it, is, this book is amazing. This guy over here, he's pouring the water and it's landing on the, it's hard to see. Anyways, so let's talk about the lion and what the lion represents. Yeah, this one's really good. I know. I am like really enjoying this this whole thing. I'll be doing this for all the moons whenever they kind of major events from now on, because it's just too cool. Fixed Stars in the Chart, it's called, by Oscar Hoffman. Leo is the Nemean lion, again, one of the many fruits of the illicit union of Typhoon and Echidna. Remember, this is all mythology, so the stories give more meaning. The lethally dangerous opponents of the gods who strive to extinguish the Olympic lights of the spirit. The lion is the fierce beast representing a merciless ambition and a fanatical lust for power. It wants to be the king. It wants to be number one, no matter what the costs will be. It is, again, Hercules, the hero. Man is as he is supposed to be, who kills the monster, strips off its skin and wears it on his shoulders. This is to indicate that he makes use of the ambitious power and decisiveness. It is not the other way around anymore. The energy does not use him. It should be this way. Otherwise, it will lead to many, many difficulties, as the lion's raw ambition is blinding and will not allow for any guidance or temperance. All the stars on the lion, Al-Janubi is the mouth, Ad-Hafera is the manes, Al-Jaba is the head, on the head, Regulus is the heart of the lion, that's the one that we mostly know, and Zosma, which is the one that the sun is aligned with right now for this full moon, is on the back, and Denebola is the tail. They kind of all have unpleasant effects, although things will become much better if the raw, boundless ambition is consciously sacrificed and tempered. If you follow Hercules and kill the lion to direct its power. Regulus, so that's talking about yourself, right? That's talking about ourselves. If you kill the lion, so what does the lion represent? It's like it's merciless ambition. It's being a fanatical. It's trying to be number one no matter what. It's basically narcissistic. Because that's like the king, right? It's like the king, I'm the best. Leo, I'm the best. Not that Leos are like that, but that's the symbolism, right? But if you transmute, right? If you kill that part of you inside of you to direct its power, then you can receive good luck from this energy and from these stars. Regulus is the heart of the lion. Yeah, exactly. Ego. So it is concentrated essence. And it is best known it is the best known, Regulus is the best known and most powerful royal star, which leads to the throne. So it gives lots of success, but there is a danger of a fall from the high position through blind and fanatical ambition. So that it's showing us, like the full moon, it reflects the light of the sun. So if the sun is on this star, that is the lion's back, that no one rides, right? And we see this story kind of unfolding. It's like very intense ego energies. But the moon is reflecting that and saying, look, there is a more spiritual way. Hey, babe, if you focus on the holy water, if you focus on the Holy Grail, if you focus on the spirituality of what's happening here, you can kill the lion. You can kill that energy and you can step into a spiritual rebirth. And that is exactly why this full moon is so freaking powerful. So let's continue looking at the chart. And I got to share the screen one more time. Yes, Sparky, that's right. This is the ego versus the heart. That's one way to kind of describe the energy for sure. Pretty wild stuff. Okay, let's see here. It blew my mind when I was looking at it. It like seriously blew my mind. These stars, I am like so excited about, sharing this information and starting to, when I do readings, like look at the stars and the constellations and see if you have any, aligned with your natal chart, which is very, very significant. Okay, so let's talk about the actual moon and what the aspects that the moon is actually making, besides this conjunction to Neptune and this connection to these fixed stars. The moon is at 10 degrees and it is making an exact sextile to Uranus at 10 degrees. So this is about desiring emotional freedom. This adds to the meaning I just gave you. This is discovering new things. This is revolutionary ideas about your spirituality. This is about walking the talk. This is Uranus and the moon helping each other because it's a sextile, allowing us to be ourselves confidently. And the same thing happens when the sun when the sun, which is over here on the other end of the opposition, is actually exactly trining Uranus. So this creates encouraging us to be our unique selves. So it's about freedom, liberty, and truth. That's what this moon is all about. Now, Uranus can also bring in a lot of unpredictable things. But for this alignment and for the meaning of this, I think this is us really stepping into, or at least desiring to be free of all the BS, right? Free of all of that negativity that's kind of going on in the world. Like, just don't even buy into the BS. So let us, like, find your peace, find your inner peace. Don't engage with that. Don't engage with things that you see are very, violent and negative, and it's hate. Don't engage with those energies. That is exactly what this moon is asking us to do. What are you going to, how are you going to show up? On this day as well, the sun is making a loose trine to Jupiter. And this is significant. The sun trine Jupiter is going to be exact, I believe, at 18, I think it's going to be at 18 degrees. I'm not exactly sure, but on December 9th, so next week, there's going to be a sun trine Jupiter, an exact sun trine Jupiter. That's going to be the most powerful expression of that trine, and sun trine Jupiter is the most auspicious. If you could say, what's the most auspicious thing in the chart, is the sun trine Jupiter, because on these days it brings good luck and positive things. Now you have to remember that Pluto and Saturn are still there next to Jupiter, but the truth is that it creates this positive energy amongst all the other not so kind of fun loving, optimistic energies. But we start to feel this sun trine Jupiter. So I believe that this is bringing in good energy into this full moon. So those are all the amazing things that are going on, right? So here's what we're going to talk about that is creating the most intense tension that we have seen, and this is a theme, right? This is going to go on for the next, 2 weeks, months, because of Saturn and Mars and Pluto, and they're kind of squaring each other. So there is a grand square. And a grand square is formed by 2 oppositions and 4 squares. So what are those oppositions? We've got Venus exactly opposing Saturn. Look at that. 25 degrees, 25 degrees. That's heavy, heavy. If you want to talk about just that opposition, that feels like the oppositions to Saturn feel like something outside of you is like causing all of this restriction and stress and causing you to mature. Saturn transits are never fun. So what's the other opposition? We've got Mars at 27 and Juno at 24, and they're opposing. So the most important thing that we could look at here is this T-square, right? But the truth is that it really is a grand square because of Juno. And Juno is the asteroid of marriage, right? And Mars and it's in Libra, which is the main like sign of relationships. It rules the 7th house of relationships and balance and being fair and like love and beauty, against Mars in Aries, which is the god of war. So Venus is not happy here because being opposed by Saturn makes her feel unsatisfied with life. So we're going to talk about Venus. Unfulfilled with love and not happy in relationships because Saturn restricts Venus's love and desire to nurture in Cancer. This makes us feel like love and relationships are a responsibility, and it takes all the fun out of it. And this also causes sadness and loneliness because of these limitations. It is being emotionally frustrated with life and things outside of us that have power. This could also manifest as something outside of you that is restricting or limiting you in some kind of way. something that appears in life that forces you to resolve it. It could also have something to do with the father figure or an authority figure, or a masculine energy, someone that represents control, or even a wise teacher that is not allowing you the freedom that you desire or restricting you in some way. It's like feeling trapped. Venus feels trapped here. Now with Mars opposed Juno, an opposition to Mars creates power struggles, conflicts in our relationships. This is fights. This is Mars in Aries and Juno in Libra representing, the marriage asteroid. This is fights in our marriage. It's the battle between what I want versus what they want, or what I want versus what is good for both of us or all of us. And the squares that are happening here that you see right here, this big, giant square, these are the squares that are happening. Venus squares Juno, Juno squares Saturn, Saturn squares Mars, and then they all oppose each other. That is what creates a grand square. And grand squares create a lot of tension and friction. The squares add more tension to these two oppositions because they actually include, you got to remember, Jupiter and Pluto are right next to Saturn. So they're part of this as well, who are expanding the energy and causing more control dynamics. So that's the craziness that we're going to be dealing with now, but this will continue. This is an ongoing theme. Mars is going to square Saturn and Pluto a few more times for the rest of the year. Mars is going to go retrograde next week, and it's just not really a feel-good energy. But there is something beautiful that is helping us to channel this energy. And it is called the mystic rectangle. And it's happening between the Mars and Juno opposition and the nodes. And then it's Mars sextiles the north node. Juno trines the north node. Mars trines the south node. And Juno sextiles the south node. So the mystic rectangle is where we can channel the energies of the oppositions, and with the nodes involved, this means destiny related. So where do you want to go? Where do you want to take your life? Is this fate or is this destiny for you? Are you choosing? Destiny is it's like your birthright. But what happens is we surrender to fate. And it's not the same. Fate is when things happen that are outside of your control. But destiny, you choose your destiny. You activate your destiny. Like your destiny could always be there. It's a potential. It's North Node energy. Your destiny can be activated. But if you surrender to fate, you surrender to powers outside of you. What's also happening during this moon is we have Mercury over here opposing Neptune. I know, right? Destiny, please. So that's a lack of clarity between what is real and what is unreal. It's misunderstanding, it's confusion, it's disorder around the communication area. It's also a powerful, strong imagination because the Mercury is the mind and Neptune is imagination. So that's a strong imagination. With Mercury also T-squaring the nodes, which is another T-square. There's a lot of craziness in this moon. There's a lot. This adds to an aspect of, is our communication, we're learning, basically what this means is we're learning lessons in regards to communication and destiny because the North Node is in Gemini and Mercury is in Virgo, and both of those are Mercury-ruled signs. So Mercury is connecting to, and it understands where destiny is headed, right? North Node. It creates a challenge too to see like forwards and backwards, to be able to define with clarity what is it that, where is it that we're going. And that is why I think we have to surrender to that Pisces full moon and the answers that come from beyond the physical, because that is not where we will find, the answers. The physical is not where we're going to find the answers right now during this full moon. Although this is a time where what is more important is what is going on in our own personal lives, the everyday things that matter more than, the collective things that are out there in the world. This is still important for us to connect to the wisdom that comes from beyond this physical time-space reality. That's what the Pisces is all about. And we can't control those things outside of ourselves either. So what can we control? What are we, able to focus on? And the last thing that I wanted to share with you guys is the Sabian symbol for this moon, before we actually go through the zodiac wheel and tell you where this is happening in your chart. So the Sabian symbol, let's switch back to me, for this moon is old childhood friends lie side by side in a tent by the side of the road and talk over their lives. If you think about the energy of that, what does that feel like? It feels loving. It feels like connection. It feels like looking back and being nostalgic, but also remembering life is beautiful and we still have a connection. We are still connected. This is about feeling like you're part of the gang, right? This is about sharing your brotherly and sisterly intimacy, characteristic of understanding, childhood friendships, nostalgic connection to the innocence and simplicity of childhood, letting down your hair, lending a sympathetic ear, supporting other people's hopes, and sympathizing with their disappointments. This is about finding fellow travelers who share and reinforce one's values, trying to make a soul-to-soul connection with everyone that you meet. This is also about maintaining old loyalties, long-term relationships tested by shared experiences, fun-loving adventures on the open road, playfulness, and informal brotherhoods. So what this is saying is there's a lot of beauty that is kind of emerging out of this full moon. And we definitely have a choice, because you're either going to choose the sweet water or the salt water. Okay? Aquarius is pouring the water. The Waterbearer is pouring the water of wisdom, of spirituality, of rebirth, of spiritual birth, of Christ consciousness. And the moon is we're stepping on the water with this moon. But what are you going to choose? Are you going to drink that salty water where all you want is just your own way? Or are you going to drink that sweet water and ascend, right? And ascend beyond the gnarliness of what's going on right now. And so where are you in your own personal life going to be experiencing the purification that will lead to spiritual birth? And where are you going to receive spiritual insight in your life, or have a spiritual epiphany that will help you figure out where and how you are going to show up in September through November, which is what we're focusing on here. So if you're an Aries, tell me in the chat if you're an Aries, sun, moon, or rising, where you're going to experience this purification, this spiritual birth, receive insights, and how you're going to show up is going to be in the 12th house. You're going to show up through your spirituality, through your connection to the divine, through your higher self. That's how you need to show up. That's the focus for the next 3 months. If you are Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, you are going to be experiencing this purification and spiritual birth in the 11th house of friendships and sharing your gifts with the world. How are you going to show up is how are you going to share your gifts? What are you doing to share your gifts? If you're a Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, this purification is happening in your 10th house of career. And that is not just career, that is also how you show up in the world. What are you recognized for? What are you being recognized for? Right? And that's how you need to look at, okay, how am I showing up? What do I want to be recognized for? That's how you got to show up. For Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this epiphany, this purification, turning the salty water to the sweet water, is happening in your 9th house of spirituality. So how are you going to show up? You need to spiritually integrate what is going on. And this is the reason why I wanted to make that video about the Mars retrograde. I feel like I have to at least do something to tell you guys what's really happening, because this Mars retrograde that starts next week only happens every 2 years. So you got to know what the heck this means for you. And it has to do with Mars and Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto squaring each other, and what houses they're in while they're squaring and doing this dance around each other. This is a lot of what I'm going to be talking about actually in episode number 4 of my podcast. I'm going to tell you actually what's your healing journey for this year 2020. But the retrograde is something that I wanted to cover separately, because if I remember from Cancer, is that you're dealing a lot with like career and relationships. So anyways, I digress. This is about how you're going to show up. You need to spiritually integrate everything that you've learned. For Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, where is this purification going to happen? This is going to be in your 8th house of death, change, transformation, rebirth. This is heavy. It's very heavy energy, but this means that your something is ending because something needs to begin. So how are you going to show up? You need to surrender to the change. You need to surrender to the shift. If you're Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this moon is happening in your 7th house of relationships. So you're purifying relationships. Like you're figuring out like which ones are the salty ones and which ones are the sweet ones. You know what I mean? And then you're letting go. You're having to let go, but you're having to activate. So how are you going to show up? Show up by showing up in your relationships. That's your purification journey. It has to do with your relationships. For Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this is happening in your 6th house of work and health and being in the present moment and your daily schedule, your daily life, your pets too. So this is where you're going to be experiencing the purification, daily life. Daily life, your every day. So how are you going to show up? You got to be right here in the moment. Meditation is going to be a really good thing for you to do. Be in your body. For Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this is happening in your 5th house of creativity. So this is beautiful because your creative abilities are tapping into the universe and tapping into the beautifulness of life. There's 33 people in the chat. I love that. So how are you going to show up? Well, you're going to show up by being creative. You're going to show up by manifesting things in your life. What do you want to create? Tap into the power of Pisces and the universe and that sweet water and let it flow through you. Become the channel for grace. For Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this moon is happening in your 4th house of the home. So this is where you're going to be experiencing this purification that leads to a spiritual birth, and where you're going to receive spiritual insight at home, family, relationships at home, your actual physical home, your house, things like that. So how are you going to show up? You got to show up at home. You got to show up at home. For Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this is happening in your 3rd house of communication. So the purification has to do with what you're learning, with how you're expressing yourself, with the throat chakra. Are you speaking your truth? So you may receive messages that come through as you speak. And how are you going to show up? You need to tell it like it is. You need to speak it. You need to express it. So if you're going to write, you got to write. If you're going to, journal, you got to journal. If you're going to create something that has to do with words, do it. That's how you need to show up. That's how you're going to process this purification. That's how you're going to purify this, your voice, your truth, your inner voice. For Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this is happening in your second house of finances, of values. So what's the spiritual purification that you're going through? Well, it has to do with what you value. If something is not of value anymore, then, okay, well, it's time to let it go. It's time to move on from that. How are you going to show up? Well, you're going to know where you stand. You're going to deal with your insecurities. And you're going to move forward. Because you're getting ready for a massive activation with Saturn and Jupiter when they move into Aquarius in December. This is sort of it's right there. It's very close to that first house for you. For Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this is happening in your first house, of course. This is you. Whenever the moon is in your sign, it's always going to be happening in your first house. Because especially if you're rising, if your rising sign is the sign of the moon, then that moon is happening in your first house, whether it's a new moon or a full moon or a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse. And it's very accurate in terms of your rising sign. It's more symbolic in terms of your sun sign and your moon sign. But for your rising sign, in tropical astrology, it's very accurate. So this is where you're going through a purification of yourself. Like you are the water. You are the water that's turning into wine. You're the salty water that's turning into sweet water. And so that's about your internal. That's your identity. That's your sense of self. That's who you are. You're purifying yourself. And that's how you're going to show up. You got to be yourself. That's how you're going to show up. So that's all the information that I had to cover, but I would love to answer some questions. I know I haven't been looking at the chat very much because I've been focusing on my notes and stuff, but this is some pretty epic, amazing things. And I hope that you guys join us tomorrow for the full moon ceremony. If you've never been there, then it's going to be really fun. I'm excited about it. It's going to be really sweet. So I'm going to look at the chat and see what kind of questions are coming up for you guys. Still wasn't sure what or if anything was supposed to happen on the 27th of August, the Great Awakening, but the week prior to that date, I felt like something unexplainable happened. Don't know what. Well, this last week, we dealt with the Mars square Saturn aspect, and it was really heavy, and it's going to happen again while Mars is retrograde. See, the thing that's going to happen is, oh, thanks, Melanie. When Mars goes retrograde is all that forward movement that we've been experiencing in the house that Mars is transiting is going to stop. And you're going to lose the energy. You're going to lose the enthusiasm. You're going to lose the desire. You're going to feel like a balloon that just got deflated. And that's why it's such an important thing to talk about, because Mars is in its home sign. It's dignified in Aries. And so when it goes retrograde, it's like all that momentum is just like stop the train, because you got to reflect. It's time to reflect. And so we're going to be twiddling our thumbs for 3 months. What is going on? Why can't we move forward? And then we're going to square Saturn and Pluto again. And it's heavy. But it's because there's an aspect to Mars that has to do, in Aries, that has to do with our courage. And just that's why this moon is okay, once that Mars transit happens and comes, it's how are you going to show up for that moment where you are really, truly tested? You got to drink that sweet water. So in this transformation, is this transformation supposed to be easy or a struggle? Well, transformation, it depends on how your perspective of it, but normally, do you think the caterpillar likes becoming a butterfly? Do you think the caterpillar enjoys the process of becoming a butterfly, dying? My kid was supposed to go back to school on the 8th, but something suddenly feels off. What influences could be working? Well, let's not go into that one. That one's too charged. You want to get into conspiracy theories? No, I'm just kidding. That's everything. It's everything. What we see in the real world is a manifestation of what? As above, so below. It's everything. Shanna says, I'm not scared. There's a lot of good things happening with this moon, and I feel like my strength has been fortified recently to deal with the challenges. Got to keep focused on the right. Yes, I agree with you, Shannon, and I feel the same way. I feel good. I feel the heaviness. It's a lot less heavy than it was last week for sure. But I know it's changing. I've been going through some mind-blowing, life-changing things right now, particularly with my parents. Huge healing / growth / transitions with them. Wow, that's powerful. Oh, okay, good. Nice. It's about to get real, uncomfortable for everyone. Transformation isn't fun, but in the long run, it's good for all of us. Well, what do you think the butterfly feels when he's like, hey, I got wings. Oh my God, I can fly. Like, what do you think the butterfly feels? We know what the caterpillar feels. how do you think the butterfly feels? Right? Like, that's where the perspective comes in. Like, be the butterfly. Be the butterfly. It is gut-wrenching if, like, caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Yeah, right? Gut-wrenching if it is, like, the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. I'm excited. It feels as though the light in our hearts is winning. It is less heavy this week for sure. Yeah, exactly. So that's it is what it is. That's why we have this, like, beautiful moon back here. The moon always shows us the truth because the moon is the emotions, and the moon reflects that light of the sun, and the sun is our soul. So what's inside is expressed through our emotions. And that's why when you connect to the cycles of the moon, you're connecting to the flow of the universe, because the emotions are also connected to the second chakra, which is the sexual energy, the sacred divine feminine, sacred sexuality, the goddess. It's all interconnected. You're welcome. Butterfly feels set free and over. What is that word? I don't know what that word says. I'm ready for wings. Right? Libra rising feels like letting it go. Yeah, there's a lot of surrender energy right now. It's a lot of surrender energy. So thank you guys so much for being here live. And then also thank you guys for watching the replay. I think I'm going to end it right there and let you guys go on your merry little ways. And I will see you tomorrow for the full moon ceremony. It's going to be a sweet one. Let's drink that sweet water. Let's sing those sweet songs. Whole new fear. Remember, this is sextile to Uranus. This moon is sextiling Uranus. So this is exciting new things. Also unpredictable, but I think in a good way because it's a sextile and a trine, not a square or an opposition. Thank you guys so much. Remember, tomorrow also the podcast, episode 4 comes out. I think you guys are going to really like it. Let me give you a little preview. So it's been taking me a while to basically write the script out for this episode because last week what we did with K Moon, which in case you didn't listen to that conversation, who did listen to the conversation, and let me know what you think, what you thought about it here in the chat. But last week we talked about the collective energies for the rest of 2020. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about the individual energies. where Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto are in your chart based off of your sun, moon, and rising, and what is the healing theme for you. Like, what are you actually healing? What's falling apart for you? What do you need to focus on? How do you break free of that? How do you heal that? And so I'm in the process of like slowly going through each of the signs and in kind of quite a bit of detail expressing what is going on. I'm really excited about this episode. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. And then I got some really fun stuff planned for the future episodes. So it's called Channel for Grace Uncut Podcast. Please go purchase the fall 2020 webinar if you want to know about the transits in detail that are happening for the rest of the year. Sign up for our email list and get the free moon astrology guide, letting you know what your psychic moon gift, depending on your moon sign. So if you have a moon in Pisces, your psychic gift is you're very psychic, you're clairvoyant, you're clairsentient, and those are the kind of things that the moon guide tells you. Depending on your moon sign, what is your gift? What can you do? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will let you guys go. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the channel. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it out. If you found it useful and informational, share it out. I would really appreciate that. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Sat Nam.